Welcome to Vancouver Carpenter. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to properly protect a space from dust for when you have to sand drywall. So I have to sand this ceiling here, so you can see this square back behind me. I've got the whole thing skim coated and I've got to sand like a lot. And I don't have a vacuum sander or anything fancy because I get my best results just with a plain old pole sander. So we got to protect the area real well. And I'm going to show you guys how I do that. And I've been doing this for a long time. Basically, how to make a Dexter lab. So I picked a fun one to make a video on, guys. I picked one with over 10-foot tall ceilings. So I had to buy a special box of plastic here. This one actually goes to 12 feet because the regular ones only go to 9 feet. What I really like to use is the light painter's plastic. I find it's the easiest to work with, the easiest to tape up, the easiest to cut, but the hardest to get out of the box. There we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got my perimeter here, and I'm just going to set my box right here. So I know that I want it to go around this whole place. And I'm actually going to do this in one piece of plastic. And how I'm going to do it is I'm going to walk it around the whole space, and I'm going to give it about 6 feet extra or so. Now I'm going to do more, but let's see where we're at. So you guys can see what I'm getting at here. And I always err on the side of having a lot extra because then you overlap the two ends, and that's what acts as your dust protection. Your door and entryway is having a big overlap. You see we've got quite a bit of overlap here, but I'm happy with that because it's not as taut as it's going to be. Okay, this part's pretty straightforward. I use the box as a guide so that you can cut the ends nice and straight. That helps make it more useful for when you need to tape it off. So that means it's going to have a pretty straight square edge. Okay, so next thing is how to tape it. And this is the part where a lot of people really struggle. So I'm using some 2-inch blue tape here. It's the gentlest on all surfaces. If you are doing it directly onto a ceiling, make sure your hands are clean, right? You don't want to have like grubby, greasy handprints all over your ceiling when you're wiping your tape. So that's one of the first things. The second thing is, if possible, pick a spot that is going to be easy to touch up the painting if anything happens. So on this job, I'm actually going to be taping around the perimeter because if it pulls off any of the paint, it's going to be super easy to fix this little strip. So that's just one thing to think about. Tape onto things that are less likely to be damaged. But anyways, the way I like to do these is I just start by putting some little tabs here. You'll see why that's useful in a minute. You know, a couple feet apart, give or take. Put the tape on my arm. And so you're going to want to find your end. Some of the poly actually has arrows. It says this side up, which actually kind of makes it easier. I just take a piece of tape and I put it on there like that, holding the other end up. Again, piece of tape. Now I can feel there is a little bit of weight on this poly. Oh, and I've got it laid out all the way the wrong way around this entire room because we actually decided that we're going to go on the inside of these columns so that we don't paint them. First, get this taped off. So once I do the little tab, then I do a full strip. The 2-inch tape is nice, well, because it holds more, stronger. Okay, well let's run this poly around. There we go. So part of the reason this really light poly is the best is, as you can see, it's still up on the ceiling. When you use any of the heavier poly, the weight of it likes to pull itself down, and that's what's so annoying about it. So I actually have to do touch-up work on this, so I have to tape on the other side here. So I'm going to do the same thing. Get little tabs anywhere I feel like it needs it. Work my way down. I always give it a little bit of slack in the corners instead of pulling things tight. Change the directions here. And again, I'm going to give it a bit of slack in this corner so that there's not a big air hole right here. Another thing to think about when doing dust protection for drywall is airflow. So some people are like, oh, make sure you have a window open or something, you know, like gotta have. That's the worst thing you can do, is have any doors or windows open. What you want to do is absolutely minimize airflow in the house. So turn off the heat, any of that sort of stuff that's gonna move air around. Don't have any fans running until you have totally cleaned up all of the drywall dust, because that is a huge thing that people make a mistake about when it comes to dust protection in their house. You just don't want any airflow. Also, airflow is going to be blowing this light poly around. I'm going to go back over this. I don't like this position I'm in. It's not very comfortable. I'm just going as far as I can reach here. So this dust protection is not going to be good enough for a long-term job. This is like short-term painting or drywall dust protection. That's why we're using light poly and just tape. If you want to do heavy dust protection that's going to stay there a long time, do a perimeter of blue tape all around the whole place, and then use thicker poly and use something like red tape to tape your poly up. And it'll be heavier poly, and then it won't get torn down and ripped as much. But yeah, I just work my way around like this, and it works. This can't be the most exciting thing you've ever seen. One thing that can happen is if you're not careful, you won't actually have the edge. You'll have a fold here, and you'll actually be right in the middle of your roll. And when you go to unfold your poly, you only have half the length. That really sucks. It just means that you blew it and you have to do it all over again. No big deal. Can you guys imagine if I actually did that? Now I'm terrified that I've done that. I think I did. Oh, I thought I did it. I didn't. Is it all good all the way here? Yeah. Phew! Thought I was about to eat my words there real bad. I've done it though. That's how I know. We've all done that. And that's why the poly with the little arrows that says this side up or tape right here is actually pretty handy. That would have been the best Vancouver Carpenter blooper yet, for sure. Okay, I'm about to rest this, and notice I'm resting it here to take the weight of the poly so that it's not ripping that down. But before I move too far, do my full row. And you know, if you want to give the tape a little extra strength, you can actually do longer tabs to help hold it up a little more. So what that looks like is like this. So now I've got about 2 inches on there and like 3 inches on the wall, and that actually holds a lot more weight. So if you're sure about the surface that you're taping onto, that's actually a pretty good way to make sure that the poly doesn't fall down while you're putting it up. So see, it's holding it pretty well there. And no, staples, never. No staples. Anyways, come on, this really is boring, putting this up. Why do you think I'm talking so much? But hopefully, after you've suffered through this, you know, at least you have a lot less dust in your next project. That's what I'm going for here. So bear with me on this video. I don't even think I can do this. Oh, that is a reach. Oh, my back. Oh. You know, every time I do something like this, it reminds me of a quote that was on the wall at BCIT where I did my carpentry apprenticeship. Awkward positions lead to unsafe conditions. And it's some dude with a drill on top, standing on the top of a ladder. You know, it worked. It's in my head. 10 years later, might even be longer than that. I don't know. Know your limits as to how high you can jump off that. This tall? Don't do that. Don't do that. That's bad. I did it once in my 30s. I never did it again. Almost there. And we're gonna get to see that like 12 extra feet of poly that I put on here. How many extra feet of poly did I do? Put your wager in the comments. 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet? I'd say we got a good 10 extra feet. I'm still on the same roll of tape, which was like 2/3 done before we even started to. I don't like the end of the tape. 1.5" tape. What's this wimpy stuff? So we really don't need that much extra. I'm going to cut that off. What is that? It's about 7 feet. Who said 7 feet? You win. Almost there. What's the time at, Nick? How long have we been filming?
25.
25 minutes. Okay. 25 minutes to protect that room. I can't wait to hear how fast all the heroes could have done that. I know you guys. 10 minutes. If you can't do it in 10 minutes, you should be fired. Okay, come on into the bubble. Pull this down. We've got this big overlap to walk through. And that will, believe it or not, actually stop the dust from going through there, especially if you do not have a bunch of air moving in the unit, because the dust is generally just going to fall straight down. In between coats, I might vacuum up the floor, but of course you got to be really careful that you don't pull your poly into the vacuum. We got our little Dexter hut. I can start sanding, and that's it. That's why they call me Bubble Boy. Thanks for watching Vancouver Carpenters, guys. This is how you protect a room for dust when you're sanding for drywall. Hope you got something out of this video. Till the next one.